me. So let's look at using the framework we just discussed. Let's talk about how we can actually approach this in a more successful way. So remember, the key question, what is the key question that the admissions officers are trying to answer? First, go back and think back to the X. So what do we know about the subject area? Then second, what do we know about the organization? And then especially compared to other organizations. So in this case, it's Harvard Business School, but there's also MIT's Business School, the Sloan School, there's Stanford's Business School, there's University of Chicago's Business School. So what do we know about what Harvard Business School specifically offers that these other institutions don't, or what they emphasize? And then finally, and most importantly, how do your experiences and interests overlap with these? So let's open it up. What do we know about the subject area? Does anybody have any suggestions? I'm gonna try and open the chat here. Huh? All right, well, I'm having trouble seeing the chat. So what I will do is if you just want to write down your answers for yourself, and then we'll talk about it. So remember, real quick, just to yourself, answer what do we know about business? And then what do we know about Harvard Business School? And then what do we know about you? All right, so let's go back to the example. So when I look at this problem, here's what I see. I see that what I know about business is a couple things. One, it values real world experience. It values an entrepreneurial attitude. And it also values people who are willing to take on tough challenges and solve them in practical ways, right? Business a lot of times is about solving an issue, not just thinking about it. So that's one thing we know about business. And already that gives us a couple things that can help us come up with a personal statement. So instead of maybe emphasizing the classes you've taken in the past, you should put more focus on your work experience. Or if you don't have much work experience, you should emphasize how the learning you did in the classroom then translated to actual change you made in the real world, or value you added to the real world. So we know that business really, really likes making change and solving real problems that add value to the world. So already we have a couple things to think about when you're thinking about your own experience. Also, Harvard Business School, you know, like it might be a little bit different if you were applying to Stanford's Business School, which is focused a little more on technology and entrepreneurship than Harvard's is. So if you were applying to Stanford's, you might think a little bit more about how you disrupted a space, or how you innovated a product or something like that, or even innovated an idea in the classroom. So once again, we need to think back to, kind of what makes Harvard Business School Harvard Business School. And a lot of times it's, it's frankly a great amount of success in whatever area you're talking about. And so it's worth remembering that, again, it's not necessarily about being the best at all things, but specifically being the best at what you do, which oftentimes I think a lot of my students with DIAB, they are doing amazing things in what they're interested in, but they kind of forget and they try and compare themselves to all these other people. But that's why, remember, the personal statement is about you. It's not a comparison to other people when you're writing it. It's just about you. So another thing we know about businesses is because of the style of writing, they probably don't want a lot of flowery language. They want really specific, clear language. They tell you that here when they say just answer the question in clear language. But I think a lot of students still sometimes feel this need to come up with an exquisite metaphor or something like that. No, oftentimes it's just telling your story in simple, clear language.